The Smith & Wesson M&P 10. Join me in this video series as we go from an unboxing to a mounting of a scope to taking it out to the range and sighting it in. Yes, the Smith & Wesson M&P 10 is supposed to be one of the better AR-10s out there, 308 chambering. And let's begin unboxing it here. So right now the box is on top of the gun. I already took it out of the box. I'm a one-man shop here, so let's see if we can flip this box over. And that's the case that it comes in. That was in the box. And if we open it up, here we go. There's the gun inside. All right, so I'll give you guys a look at it. Very nice. Got the chamber flag still in the chamber. Original from the factory all the way out here. Muzzle flash. And it comes with one 20-round PMag. Very reliable, very durable in my experience. And then under the foam over here, you get the requisite lock and instruction manual and that sort of thing. So join me on this video series as I take this new M&P 10 from the box to scope mounting to sighting it in. Thanks. Okay, next video we have the gun out of the box and I've taken the time to put it in a vise block. Okay, so this is a really good item to have here. The block in here, this allows you to put the gun in a vise and work on it. It's kind of an artificial magazine. And so there's the gun right out of the box, just put in a vise. Allows you to hold it so that you can get up here on the top rail, get your sights mounted, whatever you're going to put on. In case I'm going to put a scope on it. There's my scope, Pro Staff 7. Okay, rifle scope. Really nice scope. Kind of a value piece of glass. Not extremely expensive, but not cheap either. Let's see the power. 3.5 to 10, 40 millimeter, weighs about 16 ounces. I don't want to heavy up this gun too much. And we're going to put some Nikon P-Series rings on it. This is a 30 millimeter scope, not the 1 inch, a little bit larger. So next video, you're going to see these scope rings mounted on top of the rail here. So here we are, we have one ring on. Interesting thing, the way these rings work. Here's one in the raw here. They don't really disassemble. What they do is that bolt that goes through there actually pinches. So what you do is come over here, come on the back side. If I can see this, then you slide it on. Slide it on. Then you put the bolt through and it pinches it onto. So I got the first one on there. They're not on there tightened. They're just loose, but I wanted to show you how they slide on the top there. So next step is we're going to take these bolts off the top, take the tops of the rings on and set the scope on and get it lined up. So there it is, set on top of the rings. So there's the Nikon scope set on the Nikon rings. And let me show you here, this is not tightened down, it's loose, right? So the scope is still just loose, it's just sitting up there, as you can see. And the rings are just set in there too, they're not tightened all down. So what I will do is, what becomes critical at this point is eye relief, and that's just where you position the rear of the scope in relation to your eye. My experience has been it needs to be back here about even with the charging handle. So I will first move these rings back and forth on the slide, on the Picatinny rail, to get the greatest distance, right? The greatest distance between them. And then after that, I'll fine tune it a little bit and tweak it up. So if I have the rear ring all the way to the back, and the front ring rather will need to get moved up like so, because I want the maximum grab on this scope. I don't want the rings pinched together too tight. I want them spread apart as much as I can. Now the proper way to do this would be to tighten these rings down and then what they call lap them in, which means polish these insides until they're absolutely true and correct and be concentric. Two rings like this opposed from each other that are not a solid base are not generally too well concentric. But what I'll do to overcome that is I will first tighten down my scope, and the scope will force those rings into concentricity. They'll be concentric, and then I'll tighten them down onto the base. And that way, if there's any difference, the scope will be true and the rings and the Picatinny will absorb whatever little difference there is. My experience has been, yes, you can squeeze out, you know, a millimeter more of accuracy, 1/10 of a millimeter more accuracy if you lap the rings in, but I'm just a hobbyist here working out of my garage, and I'm going to do the next best thing, which is get the scope mounted in the rings and then mount the rings to the Picatinny. and that way the scope will be true in the rings, and whatever micrometers of non-concentricity there is will be absorbed into the base when I tighten it up. All right, and so here are the rings here, ready to go on top, and then there's the screws to hold the rings to the Picatinny. I'll put those in next. So another video here in the series. Thanks for watching. We get this in here nice and tight. Next one will be, of course, the finished product, and then we'll be out at the range shooting it. Okay, so things are looking good here. We got the scope on, we got the tops of the rings on, and I want to show you something here. Let's see, I'm getting a flashlight, so I had to reach back. Let me show you a little something about mounting rings. All right, so take a look at this ring right here. Let's see if I can get, yes, you can almost see there's a gap between the upper and the lower. Okay, let's go on the other side and take a look at it. And there it is, and there's no gap between the upper and lower. Right, no gap between the upper and lower. That's right here. There we go, now I can see it. So that gap is pinched tight all the way down. That screw's got the ring and the top ring and the bottom ring tight together. And this side, on the left side, if I can do this, there is a little bit of gap there. So that needs to be evened out. So I need to back off on the right hand side and tighten up on the left hand side until I get those things even. And I'll probably use a feeler's gauge to get those things perfectly even. So you don't want one pinched all the way down and the other one to have a gap. That creates, again, some concentricity issues, that you're not getting a good bind, a good bite on the scope. So we got a little work to do here. The other one's coming along just fine. So again, it's loose, it's not 100%, but we're working on it. Okay, back to the gap on the rings. I've got the rear left-hand side set where we have a small gap, and that gap is equal to the rear right-hand side. And I've got my feeler's gauge stuck in there so that you can see it. About 20 thousandths, that's what it worked out to be. Now, how did I know that? I didn't. I just kept experimenting with what worked. And there we go, that's a little better. 20 thousandths of an inch goes in that gap. So each side's got 20 thousandths of an inch. Each side's torqued down evenly, so that tells me I'm going to have a good bind, a good grip, a good hold on that scope tube. And now we'll do the same with the front one as well. Put 20 thousandths gap on each side, and that will be tightened down good. And then we'll come back and we'll do the rings last. We'll do the rings last because now I'll have the scope itself trued up, and then we'll do the rings last. All right, thanks. So we are out at the range now trying this gun out. This is the 308 project, Smith & Wesson M&P10. Previous video showed me mounting the scope, but now I'm out here at my rifle range sighting it in. So here we are, it's all sighted in, not sighted in rather, but all set up on a rest here. And I've got some ammo out here. I've got 3 different loads I'm working with. So we'll see how it turns out. And I've got a target rather down range at 100 yards. And I already took the liberty to shoot one at 50, and it was on paper, and I made a very simple adjustment. And was able to get it pretty well centered at 50 yards. So I moved the target out to 100 yards. So now we're going to walk out there and see what we've done. I've got 3 shots on that left target, so let's see what we've done here. Well, first 3 shots, not too bad. Probably about 1.5 inches group there, slightly left. I'm going to give that scope a couple of clicks to the right to see if I can center it and take 3 more shots. So I'm pretty happy with that. My eyes, my shooting, I don't have a very solid rest up there. It's gun is moving a little bit on me on those sandbags. If I had a nice ransom rest or a lead sled or a high dollar type of rest, I could probably squeeze that down a little bit. But for my money and my eyes and what I'm trying to accomplish here, I think that's pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, that's probably about a little bit to the left there. I'm going to give it 2 clicks to the right, and we're going to fire 3 more over here on this center target and see how we do. Maybe even up a little bit. So let's say 3 clicks to the right, and possibly even maybe 2 clicks up. I like to be just a little bit high at 100 yards. That way I'm pretty much dead on at 200. Okay, next video coming up. Scope adjustment, shooting the center target. One of the nice things about this scope, Nikon Pro Staff 7, is that the turrets are pretty easy to work with here. You've got U and D, right? U on the top there for up, D on the bottom for down, and doesn't require a special tool. You can just get on these with your finger. So we said we were going to go up a little bit, so I'm going to go up 2 clicks. 1, 2. Okay, that's got that done. And then over here on our windage, I said I was going to go left 2 clicks. And okay, there we go. I'm sorry. Left is over here. So we're going to go turn it to the right, 3 clicks. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So those are the adjustments we're going to make. All right, I'm going to shoot 3 more. Sorry guys, I'm sole cameraman, sole everything today, so I'm going to have to kill the video here. Shoot the 3 and I'll be right back. Target number 2. So some strange things here. That top hole has actually got 2 holes through it. So I put 2 bullets more or less through the same hole, and then you got 1 down there on the bottom left. A couple of things here to note. Number 1, the target's at 100 yards. I'm not using a spotting scope. I'm actually walking back and forth from the range to the target. So that's 200-yard walk each time. And while I'm not particularly winded, I'm in pretty good shape, this still gets the heart rate up. And when the heart rate up, it makes it difficult to really get down precise on that target. So what we've got here is my heart rate, failure to give me 10 minutes in between shooting, open the group up a little bit. So when I walk back up to the bench and try on the 3rd target, I'm going to wait about 5 minutes, let the heart rate come down. So it looks like we've got the elevation just about where I want to be, because I'm going to discount that low shot, but it seems to me like we could still come to the right a little bit. So I'm probably going to give it 2 more clicks right, wait about 5 minutes, and then try again. Target number 3. So we got the elevation about perfect, and I got 3 shots up at the top and a 4th one down here. And I'm pretty sure I pulled that 4th one. I felt I knew it when I pulled it. It was just way off. But you know, waited till the heart rate came down. Got 3 shots about 1 inch apart, 1.25 inches apart up there. Elevation's good. The windage is just going back and forth. I can't hold the gun too steady here. Just sandbag rest. I'm sure if I put it in a ransom vise or some mechanical vise and held it down, I could probably tighten that group up. But for my shooting, that's good enough for me. Just a casual hunter, casual target practice kind of guy. Don't need that precision accuracy. 100 yards. Now we're going to put on So now we're going to put on 3 fresh targets, and I've got a different load I want to try. Instead of a 150 grain bullet, I'm going to try a 168 grain match bullet. It's supposed to be super accurate. Maybe those groups will tighten up. We shall see. Well, we got a 168 grain Hornady match bullet. It's a Botel hollow point. A little bit different load, and as you can see, it's shooting a little tighter. I had 2 down there almost touching at the 6 o'clock position, and then 1 up a little higher. I think the higher one I actually pulled a little bit. Again, it's kind of hard to hold steady here with the wind blowing today. The wind doesn't really affect the bullet so much at 100 yards. It affects the shooter. It's like somebody standing behind you pushing you. It's real hard to get a real solid steady rest, but yeah, excuses. It's still a pretty good group. So I'm going to shoot another group over here on this right hand target. We'll take a look at it and then probably call it a day. I think we're doing all we can do here under these circumstances, and I'm pretty happy with that. I don't really need any more accuracy than that. Target number 2 here. So 3 in the middle, very nice. A flyer up top, I pulled that. But 168 grain Botel match hollow point bullet from Hornady seems to do pretty well. That's probably what I'm going to stay with. And to give you an idea of what you can do when you're reloading, here's a target, 5 rounds, 150 grain store-bought ammo, and so it's not too bad. Respectable group there, but as you can see, they've got a little more dispersion. Fired 5 rounds just to see what it would do. But if you do a little hand loading and you get a better match grade bullet, you can get 3 of them nice and tight there, 100 yards. That's a pretty good group. It's about as good as I'm going to be able to do. I pulled that 4th one up there. Just one of those things. You get older and the wind blows and your heart's not with you. It's pumping against you because I'm walking back and forth here 100, 200 yards each time. So, all right, that's my video series. 308 Winchester out of a AR-10 Smith & Wesson. Thanks for watching, like and comment.